Welcome back. A national holiday has been declared in Afghanistan as the Taliban marks 1 year since it seized power. The group took control of the capital, Kabul, with little resistance as Western powers, including the U.S., pulled out of the country in a hasty and chaotic withdrawal. Speaking on CNN yesterday, the country's former president defended his decision to flee and refused to say whether he felt betrayed by the U.S.
The reason I left was because I did not want to give the Taliban and their supporters the pleasure of yet again humiliating an Afghan president and making him sign over the legitimacy of the government.
Do you feel betrayed by the Americans?
I don't use those types of words. Our country is in dire condition. I do not have the luxury to engage in blaming or sense of betrayal. Superpowers, big powers, decide on the basis of their national interest. What I hope is that they've considered the implications of those.
Joining us now to talk more about this is Ronald Neumann. He's the former U.S. ambassador to Afghanistan and the president of the American Academy of Diplomacy. Ambassador, thanks so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate your time. So we just heard there from the former Afghan president saying he hopes the U.S. has considered the implications of its decision to pull out of the country 1 year into this. What do you make of that? Was the U.S. right to leave? What do you make of what went down in the chaotic nature of it all?
Well, Savannah, no, I don't agree with the decision. Obviously, I have some skin in this game. I was ambassador there until 2007, but was back frequently, including about 6 weeks before the fall. By the way, when President Ghani told me he would absolutely die in office and fight to the end. I do not think we did well, but obviously there are multiple opinions, two sides to the question of whether we should have left. The manner in which we left was a national disgrace, and we left behind thousands and thousands of people to whom we had a legal obligation under the special immigrant visa program, people who had been our interpreters and our workers at the embassy. So, no, I don't think that was a good decision, but it's done. We're past that now, and now we have to see how we go on.
How do you think Afghanistan has changed in this year since the Taliban took charge of the country? I mean, is the group living up to promises it made when it took over, kind of putting on this new face, particularly on issues like women's education?
No, it is certainly not living up to that new face. But, you know, for a balanced view, the economy is terrible. The condition of women is awful. There is a risk of starvation. The government is failing to perform many basic services. On the other hand, security overall is better. People are able to go about their daily lives with less risk of death. And it's still early days. So it's a pretty depressing picture, but it's not, it's not the end of the story, I suppose.
Ambassador, recently we saw the U.S. carry out the successful drone attack in Kabul, which killed al-Qaeda's leader on a balcony right there in the capital city. What do you make of America's role in Afghanistan over the past year, especially when you see something like that? And do you think that there's a future at all where the U.S. might even normalize relations with the Taliban in some way?
Well, normalization is a long way ahead of us, but engagement has continued ever since the fall of Kabul. There are things we want. We want control of terrorism. We'd like women's conditions improved, and we'd like to get out Afghans to whom we have an obligation, either for visas or because they're American citizens or long-term residents. And to do those things, you have to coordinate and talk to the Taliban. So engagement is essential. The question is how much engagement. And I think that had the Taliban, or should the Taliban in the future improve on what they're doing with women, there would be a lot more willingness in the United States government and other Western governments to increase the level of their engagement. And whether they formally recognize the Taliban or not, I think that's probably quite some years away, if ever. they didn't recognize, we never recognized the Taliban before, although we engaged with them when they were in power previously.
Right.
So, I think you will see engagement, you won't see recognition, and how the level of engagement goes will depend on the Taliban's own actions.
Ambassador Neumann, thank you so much. An important conversation to have here 1 year in. And of course, your particular expertise is so appreciated on the matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Savannah.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.